Hey everyone, my name's Amrita and I'm a registered clinical counselor out here in Surrey, BC. Today, I want to talk about the top 5 problems that most South Asian families deal with, but no one's really talking about. We're going to come in strong with the number one thing that I hear all the time, which is that our words, our communication is just way too blunt and hurtful. If you actually talk about a lot of the stuff we deal with in our family systems with, let's say, a Caucasian therapist or a counselor or even a friend, they would be very quick to label it as verbal or emotional abuse. But yet, we've got that tough, thick skin where we've normalized it or we've acclimated to it, but it still does sting when we have people constantly nitpicking or criticizing or giving unsolicited advice. So whether it's a bibi or a random auntie or even your own immediate family member or your in-laws, whenever someone is giving you criticism or speaking in a blunt manner that really doesn't sit well with you and it hurts your feelings, it's really important to learn assertive communication. So this is a really relatable one because so many of us have harbored all those stockpiled up kind of comments and experiences when someone has said something so out of pocket and so unnecessarily rude to us, but we haven't really developed the ability of how to respond in that moment. We haven't really, especially females, been given that permission to stand up for ourselves and to call out verbal abuse when it's happening. Kind of in a similar vein, but I feel like we still do have so much homophobia, racism, and casteism. Of course, we have the sexism as well, lucky us. But I think the main way that this is going to stop is if we start calling it out in our inner circles. Like, there's always our public self that wouldn't really be saying a lot of the stuff that is said behind closed doors. But if we want to change the minds of the mass majority, it does start in our individual, smaller conversations. So the next time a parent or a friend or some person in your life says something that is homophobic or sexist or racist or casteist, is casteist a word? It must be a word. Really only going to change if more people push it to change. Before, it was about conformity, status quo, trying to fit in. No one wanted to stand out because those were the times we were in. Rural times, network and image and reputation was everything. But these days, that stuff is really irrelevant at this point. So the more we can speak up against things that just don't really align with our core values of who we are in terms of our religion and our original teachings in the culture, then it is important to integrity and stand up against these things. I think a lot of clients also talk about feeling controlled and the unbearable guilt they feel if they try to break away and have some autonomy or chase their own dreams. So, a lot of times, enmeshed controlling family systems, which I think is the third biggest problem in South Asian families, create this illusion that in the name of tradition, respect, and loyalty to one another, we have to compromise our own aspirations. But really, I think it satiates this need for power and control and authority in a lot of people where they haven't had that full identity and self-worth and self-esteem and confidence develop from other places. So then they're kind of filling an unmet need and a void through hyperfixating on their kids' lives. One, there is a rampant amount of hypocrisy in our culture. So a lot of the times it's do as I say, not as I do. How many times have we had unrealistic expectations placed upon us, but then that behavior is not modeled by the elders themselves? For example, be successful, be physically fit, eat clean, always be high achieving and be impressive, but then they're not really leading a lifestyle of self-care and taking care of themselves or having good, strong goals or aspirations or anything like that. A very strong example of this is the way that daughter-in-laws are treated. So often a family system will treat the daughter of the house with one set of script and rules, and she'll be granted a lot of permissiveness and luxuries and afforded a lot of kind of leeway when it comes to her behavior and the benefits of being connected to the family. But then a daughter-in-law will be held to a completely different standard and almost be a displaced member of the family. Lot of female competition. There's a reason why so many South Asian women aren't girls. It's because when love and attention and resources are scarce, then it's going to foster that competitive energy instead of kind of focusing on the patriarchy and the men that are causing the resources to be scarce. We've almost been pit against one another. So often, instead of finding an ally in a sister-in-law, a female cousin, a female colleague or boss, we will already have that innate kind of natural bias towards them, that they're somehow going to take something from us, that they're somehow going to make things disadvantaged for us. This is something that's more in our subconscious that we really have to be keenly aware of, that it doesn't infiltrate the way that we're connecting to our female counterparts. But not least, this one's really heartbreaking, but I think in most of our homes, we have the unseen depressed elderly. So many of our elderly came from these really adventurous, open, free lives out in Punjab or India, and then they come here and they become enclosed. They can't drive, they can't get places, the climate's different, their body ages. They really lose their social connections and their usual routines, because what they were doing over there, like farming, that's not going to be their day to day here. So it impacts their mind, body, and spirit quite substantially. I do think this is a topic that is not addressed enough. And of course, they're not exactly going to be reaching out for counseling therapy either, because that's not normalized for them. So I think all in all of these topics are something that definitely need to be spoken about a lot more. What are your thoughts? Do you think I missed any? Am I overemphasizing any of these in terms of they're not as prevalent or common? I really love to hear your thoughts. As usual, thank you for watching. See you next time.